who are in support of the motion say aye, and those who are against the motion say nay. The ayes have it.
Hello and welcome to the program. I am Dennis Adigunloye. It has been quite an interesting week at the Senate with the saga surrounding the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, and Senator representing Kogi Central, Natasha Uduaghan, gripping the nation. It all culminated in what was widely expected, that being a period of suspension to be served by Senator Uduaghan for violating standing rules of the Senate. The Red Chamber, however, resolved that if she tenders a written apology, it may consider reducing the period or lifting the suspension.
Senate had 2 weeks ago mandated its Committee on Ethics, Privilege and Public Petition to conduct an inquiry on the outburst of Senator Natasha on 20th February 2025 at plenary over reallocation of seats, an action the Senate says runs contrary to its standing rules. The suspension of the embattled lawmaker is among 7 recommendations of the committee, which were all adopted by the Senate.
Senator Natasha was shown to her new seat, but she refused and insisted that she would not go anywhere, and removed the name tag on her old seat and sat down and shouting and all efforts by other senators to calm her proved abortive.
That the Senate do suspend Senator Natasha Uduaghan for 6 months for a total violation of the Senate Standing Rules 2023 as amended for bringing the presiding officer and the entire Nigerian Senate in general to a public opprobrium. Those in support of prayer 1 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
My advice and appeal to her will be that she spends her period of suspension to read and learn our rules very well.
We must demonstrate the highest level of integrity, and it starts with obeying our rules.
She had earlier, at the commencement of plenary, resubmitted a petition on alleged sexual harassment against the President of the Senate, which was signed by her constituents. Senator Natasha is the second member of the 10th Senate to be suspended. Senator Abdul Ningi was in 2024 suspended with regards to allegation of budget padding.
Well, at an earlier plenary sitting, it was emphasized that the Senate, like any other institution, has rules guiding its procedures and operations, which all members must abide by. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, had also, at the commencement of that sitting, debunked allegations of sexual harassment leveled against him by Senator Natasha Uduaghan and urged the public to await the decision of the courts on the matter.
While I am aware matters are in court, however, I would like to state clearly that at no time did I ever attempt any sexual harassment on the said distinguished Senator Uduaghan or any other woman.
Immediately, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, concluded his comments on the said allegation. Senator Natasha Uduaghan raised a point of order, this time from the seat she had last week rejected, seeking permission to table a petition against the President of the Senate, bordering on allegations of sexual harassment.
You may recall, sir, that on Friday in Arise TV, I did make some statements. And I have decided to narrow these statements in a formal petition against the President of this Senate. So if it may please you, I would humbly step forward and lay this petition.
You may proceed.
But the chief whip of the Senate and the Senate leader pointed to the fact that our procedure contravenes the provisions of Senate standing rules.
This petition that was presented by Senator Natasha was signed by herself, which is also in gross contravention of our Senate rules. It has to be her constituents or any other Nigerian.
So it is important for the public to know that political as this matter can be, we cannot be emotional about it. We are guided by two things. Actually, three different things. We are guided by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, Section 60 of which says, we shall regulate our procedure. Secondly, we are guided by the rules of this Senate. Section 40, subsection 4, of which also says, no senator shall personally sign a petition to be laid before this Senate. It's not about committee on ethics. It's not about waiting for the committee to take a decision. It's about whether this matter is ripe to be referred to the committee. Mr. Senate President, you were being emotional because you didn't want to be seen as trying to stop this allegation.
Having been referred to the Senate Committee on Ethics and Privilege, which is already investigating the previous allegations of misconduct by Senator Natasha. Chairman of the committee said, in line with the standing rules, the petition on alleged sexual harassment would not be entertained.
I can understand why she's not here. She's probably not here on the order of her lawyers. The petition she presented today is actually dead on arrival. And I say that because it runs contrary to Order 40, subsection 4.
Attempts by Senator Natasha to stop the inquiry on her alleged misconduct through a court order was also set aside in the principle of separation of power.
Let's now get some other developments during plenary sittings in the week.
Plenary featured first reading of 5 bills, one of which seeks constitutional amendments to enable independent candidacy at elections. Other features at plenary include first reading of 5 bills and the passage of the bill to establish David Umahi University of Health Sciences in Ebonyi State. A motion urging authorities to prevent attacks on farming communities in Edo State was adopted with appeals for assistance to the victims.
President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, says the 10th Senate acknowledges and embraces Nigeria's diversity towards the attainment of shared prosperity for all citizens across the country. Addressing the United Kingdom branch of the Commonwealth Parliaments Association in Abuja, Akpabio noted that the policies of government are reflective of the dreams and aspirations of all Nigerians, which is why the National Assembly works tirelessly to ensure that the nation's democracy is a force that transforms lives and is responsive to the needs of citizens. He emphasized the willingness of the legislature to collaborate and deepen engagements with other parliaments to enrich practices.
The Commonwealth Parliamentary Association has, for over a century now, stood as a steadfast sentinel of democracy, holding high the torch of good governance, legislative excellence, and the unshakable belief that a nation's strength lies not in its wealth nor its armies, but in the integrity of its institutions and the freedom of its people.
We really want to learn from you and exchange ideas and start a very broader conversation, because if this bill is able to get over the line, we can start looking at other things of how we can work together.
Now, adequate representation and working to address the needs of constituents are at the core of the mandates of legislators. Here is an instance where this mandate is being fulfilled by a lawmaker.
The multi-billion naira agricultural and human capital empowerment program by Senator representing Kwara Central Senatorial District, Saliu Mustafa, was aimed at equipping artisans, farmers, butchers, and market women with items and resources needed for their business to thrive. Items given to the beneficiaries include cows for butchers, fish and fish dryers for fish sellers, grinding and extracting machines, tractors for farmers, tricycles and commercial vehicles for various transportation unions, sewing machines for tailors, transformers for various communities in his constituency, pumping machines, as well as farm products and freezers for food sellers, among others. Senator Saliu Mustafa explained that the empowerment program is not only to lift his people out of poverty, but also to complement both the state and federal government initiatives of boosting agriculture and food security across the country.
For me, it's a thing of joy and fulfillment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made today possible for us to actualize our future plans and dreams. We made sure nobody is taking scholarship for just one term or 1 year. For those who are doing 5-year program, 6-year program, 4-year program, we have paid the entire school fees to the schools. We believe this time around, doing it differently must come in a form that we not just give sewing machine or we give certain tools to people who will not value it. We decided to take them through a series of programs and training.
So that when you have the skill, then the production component we brought into beer, so that you can now set up your own business and become employers of labor.
I can proudly beat my chest and boast that the reform that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu initiated in terms of food security is working.
It times 10 what we used to produce before now. And by implication, there will be bumper harvest.
Over 3,000 people benefited from the multi-billion naira empowerment program, while the beneficiaries were also trained earlier on how best to utilize the items given to them.
And here are the thoughts of a legislator in the 10th Senate on some key national issues, as well as his experiences so far in the Red Chamber. All right, let me begin by congratulating you on 1 year as in the Senate. This was marked, obviously, last year, December.
Thank you.
Just give us, to start with, just tell us how the experience has been in the National Assembly.
Well, to me, it's very exciting. I started my politics as a legislator in a state assembly, rising to the position of a speaker. So after speaker, I became governor. And so my ambition was to go to Senate, to come to Senate. Indeed, I became a minister briefly. And when the judgment came, I went back to the Senate. So I must say that to me, if it is something that you made up your mind for, you'll enjoy it. But if it was something that, let's say, somebody forced me to it, I may not have enjoyed it. But to me, I think I chose to come to Senate. And therefore, whatever is done in the Senate today, I take it with a lot of joy, and also the experience that I garnered before is what I'm deploying as a Senator of the Federal Republic.
All right, if you could just elaborate a bit more on that. You've obviously had experience at the executive side, yes, and the legislative side. How has that been able to assist you, shall we say, in your work here now as a senator?
Yeah, well, as a legislator, first, your role is to make laws for good governance, to produce laws, and so most of the things that will come for the executive are coming to you as a legislator, because you are easily accessible to the people. People will come with their problems, you harness and put all the problems, and then we will move it in. All the challenges that you have from your constituencies, you bring them in. And at the time you will bring them in, you just don't sit down. Another aspect of it is your ability to push it through. Because you are going to work within, for instance, in the Senate, you have 90-something senators. And so you should know that whatever you are going to do is not like you push it and you go and sleep. No, people are here to lobby. That's part of the game. People are here to lobby. It's your ability to lobby, your ability to interact with your colleagues, so that one thing you do, you also support them somewhere, they support you. Otherwise, you will end up sitting down there, and many of these things will go without you being fully represented. So like I said, I started already from the scratch as a member of the House of Assembly of my state, gradually becoming the Speaker of the House. And so when I came here, the business was not new, not strange to me. I knew that even as a governor, if I come there, I must struggle with the rest. So that's why you see us moving here and there. Sometimes when we are moving into a place, they'll say, I know you are a governor, you are not supposed to. I say, no, I'm no longer a governor. I'm struggling for my people. I'm no longer a governor. I am now a senator of Federal Republic. If I go and sit down and sleep as a governor, by the time they make the thing, they make the distribution and allocation of resources here or projects, my constituency will go without it. And if I go back, my constituency, I will not go and tell them because I was governor, former governor, I was not able to do well for them. I was shy. No, I struggle with them, whatever they do. Sometimes, even what they were wearing, if I know that I'm going to wear big gown, I remove the big gown. I say, no, let me also behave like a senator. So I must thank God that we have that respect. With all the senators, we've interacted with them, and they give us our respect. So it is very, very exciting because when you get to this site, and before I got to this site, I was also from another executive, from the governor to the federal executive, which is also very challenging. And at that site, it was our duty to come to convince the Senate to approve our budget. And you know, most especially with a ministry like Ministry for Labor and Productivity, where all the troubles of the workforce was always there. And then you now move it to executive and also move it to Senate. So for me, I thank God for that blessing. I got that experience from here. I went to the federal executive within that short time. With that experience is what I'm doing now in the Senate.
Definitely. All right, Your Excellency, just talk to us about some of your bills.
Yes.
I understand you have the Constitutional Alteration Bill,
Yes.
Traditional Rulers Bill, Entrepreneurship Centers for Agric Graduates Bill.
Yes, first of all, the Alteration Bill is a constitutional amendment. You know, I was privileged to be part of the constitutional amendment from 1999 to that, because as a speaker, we were the ones, 6 speakers representing the regions at the 1999 constitutional review up to 2003, and then they carry over from 2003 to 2007. Now when I left, I became a governor again. I was one of the governors, chairman Northern Governors Forum. I was one of the principal officers in the Governors Forum, at the Governors Forum, representing the governors at the review of the Constitution. Now, as a senator of the Federal Republic, again I was privileged to be selected as a member of the Constitutional Review Committee. So, apart from participating or supporting so many of the bills, you can see that when we started in 1999, today we are beginning where we had autonomy. There was no autonomy for legislature. We have autonomy. We now have autonomy for judiciary. We have autonomy now for local governments. We have autonomy for local governments. And in so many places where it required alterations, I was part of it. Now at the Senate, I then realized again there were so many items that are still begging for attention. The issue of traditional rulers is very important. We had moved that when I was a governor as chairman of Northern Governors Forum. We moved it, but along the line, it fell. So when I came, I now move it myself, again, to try again for traditional council. You have challenges of insecurity. Those things, to me, are part of the reason why we have insecurity is because we don't give attention to traditional rulers. We don't provide roles for traditional rulers. In those days, it was traditional rulers that were handling security issues in their villages. Because in a village, it's a typical village, the traditional ruler knows who is bad and who is good. So if you ask him who are bad people, he will not tell you. He will know. So, but when we don't give them roles, at the end of the day, when you start seeing bandits, young people becoming bandits, young people becoming kidnappers, and you say you want to hold traditional rulers responsible. What role have you given them? Even resources are not given to them. So definitely I see that as an opportunity to try again and get some of these reflections that some of these things that we used to do before, and we are given results, so that we find some traditional roles or roles that will give them, that they will also give their attention to the security of their places. Another one is the issue of the agriculture entrepreneurship. People, you will wake up, you will see graduates. Graduates will be moving about as it is now. Many of them, somebody will say, I read English. This one will say, I even read law. This one, I read this, I read that, I read that. There's no work to do. Why don't we create things? We have fertile lands everywhere. Since the government is focusing and deploying a lot of money into agriculture, so many things can be done. A graduate can do if you tell him, if you train him. For instance, fishery. His backyard, just a pond, and put a pond there. What he will get, he will do harvest 2 or 3 times. If you calculate the harvest that he will do three times, it's more than his salary for 1 year, in a month. In a month. Now we must move into that. You see what China are doing. Chinese, from small boy like this, they will train him and tell him what to do. Before he gets him to the secondary school, the boy would have known how to do something. So this is what we should start doing. Nigerians are very, very smart. Nigerians are intelligent. But until we start taking it from that level, you see, we will not get it right. You continue to say you are waiting to employ them. Where is the job? Where are the job opportunities? To some of us, I had to do that in my state when I realized that even people were falsifying their results, falsifying their ages. They don't want to retire. And I told the youth, your parents don't want to retire. How can we create vacancies for you? They go there, you see somebody is 70, but he will tell you he's 40-something years. He's still at the service. 2, the fact that the training is not the same. Today, the youths are very agile. The computer, the internet has moved them beyond what we used to know. Because what you were thinking that you will be trained, you train somebody in 20 years. A young man will learn that thing in a month. The budget generally, and with what Mr. President is bringing, if at the end of the day we are very lucky to have the tax, that is the tax review with all its complications, and if they are resolved and we pass the tax review, I'm sure it will bring in more revenue to government. We are expecting that as more revenue comes, we'll also be talking of supplementary budgets for the nation.
Absolutely. Your Excellency, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your perspectives.
Thank you.
I'm grateful.
Thank you. It's my pleasure having you.
Thank you, sir. Well, that's Senate 109 for this week. Thanks for watching. I am Dennis Adigunloye. See you next time.